All right. Well, we are going to probably finish up our look at biblical finances tonight, and if we have time, we're going to get right into our next topic, which will be the topic of prayer. So I think that'll be a good thing to do. I mentioned last week Robert Kiyosaki's 10 Rules for Success. Experience makes you smarter. The more you give, the more you receive. Change the way you think. He said focus, and that stands for follow one course until successful. Hard times bring new opportunities. So remember, when hard times come, that means God's opening up different doors for opportunity, right? Design your business properly. Of course, we could spend days and days elaborating on all this stuff. He says don't work as hard for earned income because of the taxes, right? I think my wife brought up last week, too, with the insurance, too. You know, they take the insurance out, they take the taxes out, they take so much money out of your paycheck. And so the harder you work, your paycheck will just barely edge up. But when you're dealing with portfolio or capital gains income, the tax rate there is around 20%. Passive income is best, where you can pay little or no taxes. Don't be afraid of losses. Aim to acquire assets. And lastly, he says stop saving money, but hedge it. Hedge your money. What does hedging your money mean? Yeah, put it in something, it goes back to years ago. Remember Charles Givens? He was also a financial consultant. It's called a money movement strategy. Learn to move it, from one account to another account, or move it here, move there. Learn to move your money around, so you can maximize interest. A lot of people will invest in gold. When times are bad, they invest in gold because in bad times the value of the dollar goes down, right? And when the value of the dollar goes down, the price of gold goes what? Up, right? So a lot of people hedge their money in gold, okay? But then there's a time to unhedge, right? Because, when it's high, sell, right? So, Robert Kiyosaki, he's an interesting guy. You remember back, I'm going to say in the 1980s, you remember that somebody came out with those, I don't even know what they're called. It's like a canvas wallet with Velcro. Remember that? That's called a surfer's wallet. And that was for surfers to keep on them because, they get wet and stuff like that. It's called a surfer's wallet. He invented that. He came up with the idea, he was raised in Hawaii, came up with the idea, started a company, became a multi-millionaire. But he did everything wrong according to what his rich father had taught him. He had the rich father, which was really his best friend's dad. And then he had his dad, biological father, who was his poor dad. And right when he was on the edge of bankruptcy, he called his rich dad to come in and help him out. And the rich dad just raised heck and raked him over the coals and said, don't you remember what I taught you? I taught you this and this and this, and he didn't do none of it, So he ended up having to file bankruptcy. But what did he do? He turned it around and became a multi-millionaire all over again, okay? And so that's what rich people do. I mean, they fail, but they don't quit. They keep on going, okay? And, that's the way I notice with a lot of church people. You fail at something and then you say, oh, well, I guess it wasn't the Lord's will. Right? Haven't you heard that before? Well, maybe it wasn't the Lord's time or the Lord's way, or, you know what I'm saying? I mean, God, when we're going to talk about prayer in a little while, and when you pray, God will always give you an answer. I've heard so many people say, well, God won't answer my prayer. Sure he does. He answers with yes, or he answers with no, or wait and see what happens, okay? So again, rich people think like rich people. That's why they're rich, okay? Yep. Quick word on tithing. When a Christian gives or contributes, they should first of all regularly tithe and give offerings to the church. That is standard, okay? Remember, the tithe is the Lord's. I'm not going to get into that like real heavy. The tithe is the Lord. So if you don't tithe, what does Malachi say? It says that you're stealing from God, okay? And whatever you give above your tithe is your gift or your love offering, okay? You should do that regularly. You should do it in such a way that you're not wanting to call attention to yourself. Over the years, I've had so many people who will give, and it doesn't have to be monetarily. Maybe it's of their time, maybe it's of their talent, maybe it's of their treasure, but then later they want something for it. You ever have anybody that gave you something and you hated that they gave it to you because you know that they're going to want something back? You ever know somebody like that? There's a string attached. Well, you know what? When it comes to God, you better not try to pull God's strings. Because if you try to pull God's strings, guess what? He's going to cut your strings. That's pretty profound, huh? That'll preach. You can write that down. If you try to pull God's strings, he's going to cut yours. I like that. Just came up with that. Bam. Okay. You should also give sacrificially, right? Sacrificially. You should give cheerfully. And really, you should do it with an attitude that you know that it's better to give than to receive. I really believe that when people are generous and they give, they're always going to get it back. They're always going to be blessed. Always. And I've seen that happen. I've seen that happen over and over and over and over again, And that's why when it comes to money, that's one of the fewest things I pray about. I don't pray hardly ever about money because God is so good. He's been faithful in the past, and I just know he's going to be faithful in the future. And again, you should give sacrificially, but you should do it out of the abundance of your heart. Okay? God knows your heart. Okay? I know I've told this joke so many, many times, but it's a true story. That's why I keep telling it. Years and years ago, Billy Graham and Ruth Graham, okay, you know how old this story is. They were attending a church, and the offering plates were being passed out. And Billy Graham, pulls his wallet out, and he had a $20 bill and a $5 bill. Remember this story? You haven't heard it? Good. Okay. So you've heard? All right. So he wanted to put the $5 bill in the plate, but inadvertently he threw the 20 in. And right the second he dropped that 20 in there, he realized what he had done, but he couldn't reach back in there and take the 20 out and put, you know what I'm saying? He couldn't. Everybody was looking at him. Golly, after all, it's Billy Graham, okay? But Ruth saw what happened. And she leaned over and she says, Billy, God's only giving you credit for the 5. Yeah. Because God knows your heart. And it doesn't matter how much you give, but what matters is what's in here, right? Now, one thing I can do, if anybody wants it, you got to let me know because I don't want to print a bunch of stuff off that people aren't going to use, is I can print off like a sheet to make your own budget, okay? And the way that this one is done, this one is based on monthly expenses. If you times it by 3, that would be your quarterly expenses, right? If you times it by 12, that would be your yearly expenses, And like I said, whenever you do a budget, you're going to constantly tweak it. Some years bills go up, some years bills go down, things happen, things change. You want that budget? Okay. Okay, I don't know where I got it from, but there it is, okay? Okay, okay. Now remember, there are certain things you can't change. You know, when the property tax time comes, I mean, you can go there, Bartow, and you can kind of dick around with them, but, you know, when it's said and done, it's said and done. I mean, you got to pay your taxes, okay? You know, you got to, you know, you're going to use, you know, there's certain things that are not going to change. Those are called your fixed assets, or fixed expenses, I should say. However, there's always what we call flexible. You know, there's always some flexibility in some of the bills that you can go in there, you know, like shutting lights off that you're not using. You know, do you really need that? Do you really, I mean, you know, there's a lot of times, you know, people are kind of wasting money. A lot of people going out joyriding around, you know, I mean, you know. Yeah. But, you know, I mean, there's a lot of little ways that you can cut costs, and of course that adds up, right? So if you want a blank sheet with all that stuff on there, let me know and I'll make you a copy, okay? Other ways to reduce budgets include, first of all, shop for the best credit card. We talked about credit cards already, but remember, look for cards that offer points or cash back, okay? I don't know what we got right now, but the card that we have right now, there's no annual fee. If you pay it that month, there's no interest. And every time you use it for so much money, you get so much money back, like 1.5% or 2.5% or something like that. And so it's free money you're getting back. Why wouldn't you take advantage of free money, right? Coupons, buy one, get one free. You know, it might be worth getting a newspaper to get the coupons. If you're a couponer. If you're not a couponer, you might want to ditch the newspaper, right? Okay, see, you guys know, I don't know nothing about that. I don't coupon. You know, Black Friday, they slash prices, and, you know, you can, you know, really buy some heavy-duty items, you know, appliances that you might need for your home or a TV or something. That would be a good time to get it. Proverbs 21:5 says, "The plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty." So just by waiting for those special sales, you know, sometimes people have to get it right now. You know, they that instant gratification, you know. Well, just wait. You're going to, you know, you can get a good deal. Proverbs 21:20. "The wise store up choice food and olive oil, but fools gulp theirs down." Okay? So it's just a matter of doing things with, what's the word I'm looking for? Moderation. Doing things moderately, you know. Doing things, you know, using a little bit of wisdom. Often one spouse does books and the other doesn't know anything. Yeah, 1 Peter states that husbands should treat their wives with respect so their prayers will not be hindered. Now, I believe that. And if you believe that, then surely you should. If you're the man, let's say you do the money, you should teach your wife how to do it, or vice versa. Teach your spouse everything they need to know in the event they should die, because remember, you're going to die anyway. Okay? You know, 65% of our churches is made up of the builder generation. And they're going to be gone. Next couple years, poop, they're gone. But you're going to be with Jesus, right? So it's okay. And if you don't teach your spouse will experience grief, fear, and anger towards you. Okay? I'm dealing with that right now. My dad always handled the money. Always. He did so much stuff when he was young. He was always really the business genius. I mean, unbelievable what stuff he did, all kinds of stuff. But he never taught my mom. And, he never really showed me how to do it. So now that he can't do it, now I have to go down there and I got to deal with it, And if you've never dealt with it before, it's not easy. It really is. It really is, because because in my household, Shelly takes care of the bills. I don't do it. So now I'm going down there and dealing with it all, and so yeah. Are there exceptions to the rules? If you say that you believe in God and don't obey, then you're a practicing atheist. If you use a credit card, then make sure you have two, with the husband as primary on one and the wife secondary. And then the wife should be primary on the other one and the husband should be secondary. And that way both will build a credit score. That's why is Cecily in here? No, she's not in here. That's why when she started driving and she started having to put gas in the car, we gave her a card, but it's in her name. And that way she starts building her credit score, okay? Make sure both spouses know each other's passwords, okay? So if something happens, they can get into your stuff. Well, why should I build my credit score if I'm out of debt and pay cash for everything? Okay, that's a good question. Yeah, you never really know, do you, if there's an emergency, right? Checking your credit score every 30 days prevents ID theft. Now, one thing, if you really, really, really have so much money that you don't need a credit score, you can have your credit score frozen. Of course, my thing don't work here. You can have your credit score frozen. And what that will do is, if somebody does steal your ID, they won't be able to do anything. Like get credit cards in your name and do stuff because your credit is frozen. Yeah, Ramona. Exactly. That's exactly right. Right, if your insurance is high, a good credit score can give you cheaper insurance. Yeah, because they check you out. Very, very good point. In fact, I'm going to kind of mention that here in a minute, but it'll be a little bit different. 30% of people have mistakes on their credit report. So why wouldn't you want to have a good credit score and check your credit regularly? Now, if you're young and you lose your job, you may need a loan. An emergency might come up and you may need a good credit score. And now here's what I was going to say. Employers today check your finances and credit. So if it's the insurance not checking your credit score, it might be a future employer. And they say, well, Joe Blow here, he's got a bad credit score. If he can't manage his own money, he won't be able to handle my money either. Boom, you lost the job. So, again, I think that's noteworthy. Remember, don't run away from creditors because you started the problem. Run toward them and deal with it. That's exactly what General Jerry Boykin said. He said that when you hear shots being fired, a good soldier runs toward the fire, not away from it. Right? Husband, you also have the responsibility to protect your wife from harassing creditors, okay? So if you're the male in the family, God holds you responsible, even if your wife does the books. If your wife is maybe got behind or did something wrong or something, then you might need to intervene, right? See, a lot of you men are not amening me on that one, but yeah, because the husband and wife together should be constantly aware of what's coming in and what's going out. And if there's a problem, the man might need to intervene too. You might need to say, "Hey, we got to cut the cable out. We got to cut this out, right?" You can go to annualcreditreport.com. It's free. In fact, I think most of the major credit bureaus nowadays, you can check your credit for free now. I think that's true across the board now. Okay, this is really the final word now, okay? If you want to get some really good information about handling money, go to DaveRamsey.com. What I like about Dave Ramsey is he puts things in very simple terms. If I can understand it, anybody can understand it. Crown Financial Ministries, that's the one that grew out of Larry Burkett's ministry. I took that course. That's a good one. Again, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book series is really excellent, puts things into perspective. If you need a lower interest rate, consider refinancing. Go to bankrate.com, right? If you need a debt management company, go to financialhope.com. If you need to stop junk mail, okay, somebody told me they tried this and it didn't work, but call up 1-888-5-OPT-OUT, and supposedly you can get out of getting junk mail. Couple things here and there, people told me they tried and it didn't work, and we're done.